Well, let's see what's in this box. What is up, you guys? Welcome back. So, what is up, you guys? So, yeah, I'm gonna interrupt this video real quick. And so I decided when I was editing the video, there's simply too much footage of this to reasonably put in one video. It would end up, I think about 8 hours long, give or take. That's how much time I put into this. And you guys simply aren't going to watch that. So we're going to break this up into a couple different parts. This is going to be part one of the video, part one. Okay, and at the end of this, I'll put a little bit of an outro there for you guys to watch. Nothing major, but we'll throw that on there so you guys know that that is the end of part one. And then I'll do one of these for the intro, part two, and part 3 and 4, whatever else we do on this. But anyway, this is part one, and I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks. This video I'm actually going to post. I promise. I'm going to post it quickly. So, the other day, and bear with me, and the noise in the background, I have bought another new toy, and it is over there 3D printing away. I bought a Ender 3 Pro, and I put a couple upgrades on it, and I'm making things as we speak. Let me grab one of the things I made the other day. So I 3D printed a couple things, and then I decided that I was going to make this guy. And this is just a little micro version I got on Thingiverse of an Xbox Series X to match my Xbox Series X. And this is actually a really good print. I was really happy with it. It's got all the ports on it and all that good stuff. So the guy that made this, fantastic job. Very happy with it. I mean, I know it's just a rectangle or a cube, elongated, but even the holes up top, I mean, you could have done a little bit better and recessed and whatnot, but overall, I mean, I think for a micro version, very cool, very happy to have that. But what's in this box? So, glad you asked. So this box is, I'm very excited about. Very, very, very excited about. So I saw this on eBay because I was looking around for some things. I needed to do something, I need to build something else, blah, blah, blah. And I came across this, and I went ahead and bid on it because I definitely wanted it. I waited. And to the last minute, and I put my final bid in, and I won it. And I think I paid about 80 bucks for this, all in. So what did I get? Let's take a look. Now, all of these were listed as non-functional. So first I got a Blue Sega Sports Game Gear, because I needed another one, because, okay, I didn't need another one, but it came with it, and I bought the kit for one specific Game Gear, not this one. I was happy this was in there, but this is not why I actually bought this entire set. I want to be careful here because there's a special one in here. This is not the special one. No, okay. So it also came with this one. This is standard black Game Gear. I don't see any battery damage on it. Maybe just a faint little bit, but nothing really major on it. I don't know what model this is, whether it's a VA1 or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what it is. We're going to get into it and look at it in another video. That, again, is not the reason I bought this set of Game Gears. This is the reason I bought this set of Game Gears. And let me set these guys back in here and put this box down. And I'm going to show you why. Now, I am not Sega Game Gear aficionado, but I have built quite a few of them, and I really enjoy building them. And I don't know all the ins and outs of every single one ever made and all that stuff. I'm not that guy. I rely on other people to be that guy. I'm not. But this one caught my attention, and I thought as soon as I saw it, what in the world is that? And I clicked on it, and I didn't know, and it didn't have, what it didn't have was Whereas every other Game Gear have these silver stickers on the back, this one didn't have it. Didn't have it at all. I thought, well, that's weird. But what caught my eye was the fact that it had a circuit board on the back side of it that I was not sure what that circuit board was or did. And it had a wire, like a DIN connector, coming off of that board. And I know, I mean, obviously some sort of video out, but I had no idea. So I immediately started bidding, and I won it. Now, I'll say this right off the bat: this thing is in really good shape. It does have a flat screen here, glass, which doesn't really necessarily mean anything particularly. It's got a flat. I don't know if that's glass or polycarbonate. It's got some scratches, so it's probably polycarbonate. I do know that Sega made some of the Game Gears with a flat polycarbonate instead of the dome, the rounded one. And another interesting thing that caught my eye about it as well is, I have to go back and check, the green here on portable video game system stands out more on this one. It could just be because this is cleaner and not as scratched up as this is. It could be because of that, but I wasn't sure, but that definitely caught my eye. It could also be because it's flat, and so anyway, glossing over all that. So let's flip this thing over and take a look. This is what caught my attention. Now, there's a board, and this is branded Sega. This is branded Sega. And it has a connector that goes inside. But when I flip this guy over, and we're going to cut these wires loose, so I want to take a look at this really closely. It only had the one battery cover. This does not have a battery cover on it at all. There is a hole drilled inside the case. There was a sticker here, but there was none here, and what this says is model number HGG3210. Okay? This also says batteries LR6, AM3 times 6, which is double A's are fine. Okay? But they're labeled LR6s, which the US versions or the other versions of Game Gears, okay, they are too. Sorry, my bad. I didn't think they were, but they are. At any rate, so I got to looking around at what this HGG 3210 meant, because it's got to mean something, right? It's got to. They didn't just stamp it on there for nothing. But there's no sticker and there's no residue left behind either, so there was never a sticker here. And what I found out was this is most likely a Japanese version. And like I said, it does come with this large DIN connector here, like you would plug in a first-gen Genesis connector to this, or a 9-pin DIN. Is this 9-pin? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8-pin. 8-pin DIN. At any rate, that's what this is. Now, this cable does unhook from this board, but I'm going to clip it. What they've done is they've run a zip tie, whoever did this, and there's some tape right here on this edge. Okay? So we're going to clip this zip tie off very gently so we can lift this board up somewhat. I'm going to try to unplug it. This is heat shrunk on. This is obvious. I mean, this is not factory, I'm convinced. But what has me interested is this is a Sega branded board. And I don't know anything about this little board. Nor do I know anything about this cable. This board is also got a connector on it. I want to be careful here. Let's take this thing apart. Okay, so we've got another whole board here that's branded Sega, and then a smaller Sega board here. And it looks like down below this there are more chips. I can't really tell what they are. We may desolder this. I want to be careful because I don't know what this is, but it is labeled as and it's got like an epoxy coating all over the top of it, so I can't read any information on the chip. But and all of these, I'm assuming these are capacitors, but they may be, I don't know. We've definitely got some. I'll tell you what. Let me do this. Let me pause the video. I'm going to zoom down. You know what? I'm not even going to do that. Let me set this guy here. I've had to rearrange my my working area here just a little bit. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to be slick about this. I'm going to put this on camera for you. Or, there we go. Get a nice crisp view of it. Let me zoom on up so we get as much as possible on this. Okay. Shouldn't need any light on it. We'll give it a little bit. Okay. So what we've got, let's start on the back side, because this is what I saw in the pictures. So I saw, let me find my tweezers, right here. And I don't know if you guys can make that out very well on screen, but this definitely says Sega on it, okay? Sorry, let me get this back over here where you guys can see. It definitely says Sega, and it's got the C, the registered C mark on it right here. Okay, that's better for you guys, isn't it? Alright. So it says Sega, and then down here, on this bottom edge, there's a number, and it says 17160. I believe that's a 86. Let me get a little light on the subject here. Tell you what, let me come on down, bring the microscope. Okay, there we go. Much better. So 17160,898. Okay. Look, scrolling around this board, we've got a couple of capacitors here. We've definitely got something on the other side here, and then we've got these two chips, T88 10H 74HC00A and 74HC175A. So these are both video drivers. Now when we flip this board over, again, we've got Sega printed on this side, and then we've got 8377942 here. I'm looking for any other identifiers on the board. We do have a couple of capacitors, aluminum electrolytics. Up here, though, on this, so we've got our Sega logo. This is this top blackboard, and you guys are probably not going to be able to make that out very well, what's going on here. But there is a set of pins dropped down to the main board. This board sets above it. Let me see if I can get my zoom. In a second, let me figure out my zoom here so you guys can see what I'm seeing in a manner that I'm seeing it. So, yeah, that'll work. Okay. So, if you look right here, what we're looking at right here, these are the pins for this connector on the other side of the board. This right here, this green substrate is our board, and then there is an air gap, and if I flip this over on this side, that's the better view. I think that's the better view. Yeah, okay. So if I flip this over on this side for you guys, you can see here's our upper board, and then there's a series of pins that drop down to our lower board. So, at any rate, what we have is this board is labeled 315-5242-1302 Sega. I don't know what either one of these are. I've never seen these. I have no idea. But I'm going to do some research when I take my first break. I'm going to come back with some answers. I couldn't get the answers before because I didn't have the console in my hand, and so since I couldn't get the console, I didn't want to tell you anything wrong. But it's here, so we can start disassembling this guy. So first things first, in getting my 3D printer, I've had to reevaluate the layout here at the work table, and that's caused a little bit of a I'm sorry, I'm looking for my correct game bit driver here. Caused a little bit of a discombobulation, so to speak. I'll find my game bit driver in a minute. It's in here. I knew where these were when they were sitting over there, but then I moved them over here and now I can't find them. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So I don't know. Oh, yeah, this should be it. Maybe. No. Okay, let me grab it. It's got to be over here. Found it. So I'm very curious to find out exactly what this is. And here's the connector that comes out. And again, it's got a hole drilled in it, and all of this stuff right here, all of the edges for the batteries have been cut out, and the upper battery connectors and the lower ones have all been removed. So I'm very curious, be very interested to find out exactly what was in here once upon a time. We're going to dig in. Ooh. The first thing I thought when I saw this thing was, wow, somebody's got almost like a prototype or a dev kit of a Game Gear, and you know, one can hope. I don't think that's what it is. That's me being hopeful. I don't think that's what this is at all. It'd be really cool, but I don't. And I have no idea what that board is. I'm sure that this has somehow been modified to output to a TV via DIN rail, but I'm not sure. And what I can say is, no matter what this is, I'm going to try to find out what this mod is, but there's no telling when this was done. No telling where it came from. So it's going to be really difficult to kind of track any of the information down, but I'm going to do my best. Maybe this is from what I read so far about the model number, because I could make the model number out a little bit in the eBay listing, is that this is probably a Japanese console. Probably. Most likely. Oh, wow. Okay. So we're going to unhook this and this. And this. This is completely different. So the power on this side, this capacitor's swollen. Let me take a look here. This is a V0 board. 7398. This is a different layout. This is a much different layout. So we've got this connector here going up to a bunch of test points on this end of the board. We've got a jumper coming across from a test point to an EM test point. This has got to be a Japanese console. This has got to be a Japanese console. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm back and I have some problems. So I cannot find any information on Console 5 or anywhere else about 837-7398-03. Nothing. Can find nothing anywhere about it. And this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. This chip. So I was scrolling through and I came across Arcade Project's website, and this is what they have listed for the 315242, is a custom IC used on some Sega arcade systems. The System C and C2, System 18, 24, and 32, System X, and System Y. It's a video DAC connected to the color RAMs, which provides, this is direct from the website, written by Caius, who I don't know who this guy is, but this is in July 19, 2020. Provide analog outputs for driving a monitor. It accomplishes also some special functions like making the video output grayscale instead of color, or enabling shadow highlight. It comes under the form of a ceramic module covered in a black epoxy, which is what we have here. The pictures that they have do not match what I have. The core of the 315-5242 is a surface-mounted IPC, or IC, PQFP44 package located on top of the module. The M71064 from Oki manufacturer. No info reference was available for the fully digital IC till some time ago when somebody decapped it and traced schematics, revealing the internal structure and figuring out the functions. Most of the work was done, blah, blah, blah. So he tested on a few things, on a couple of different Sega arcade games, you scroll down, and here is another one. This is a staff member there, says that they need to understand some things. This is a module that was used on the C2, which we talked about, and a Game Gear TV converter used by Sega for development. If you look at this, the Game Gear 4096, 4 bits per color, thus not using the full 5 bits per color that this module supports. No shadow or highlight used either. In some cases, all the functionality of the module aren't used. For instance, the Game Gear RGB output board can be reproduced using only a few parts, mostly latches, just like the 315 5242 Repro design. So this is very interesting to me. I'm going to have to dig a little bit more into this and get you some more information, because essentially what I'm understanding is that this was used for the Sega TV development, which could mean some things. It could mean that this is the development board, that this was a development console, is exactly what it could mean. Which interestingly would pair up in that we have this green tape, which is the same green Kapton style tape used here, the bottom of this and around this wiring loom, which is very interesting to me. We've got that. The boards, or the chips on this, are a little bit different than I'm used to seeing. The package chips are quite a bit different overall. The transformer is smaller, but I'm used to US ones. The capacitors, that's 100, 6800, 10s, 33s, 22s, 10s. So the capacitors are all the same, 48. I'm just glancing through 48, 6, 37, 39, C1, C3. Okay, so all of these are the same. All of these are the same. I don't see, I mean, there's some handwork. There's some handwork done in attaching these. There's no doubt about it. And we've got a bunch that come down here to some other termination points that are tied onto, you know what, let me just do it this way. Let me just get the microscope out. Let me set this guy over here because this is interesting. I'll tell you exactly what this reminds me of to a certain extent. So, up here in this corner, let me find my fine pointy tweezers. So, let me slide these out of the way. Yeah, wow. Okay, so you can still see the flux on the board, which is incredibly cool. So, we're coming to T12, to T8, to T9, and then T11 is jumpered from T11 over to, where's my tweezers at? It's really hard for me to see. Right here, sorry, to EM8, And then, coming down, we are tying 2 legs onto C6, sorry. We are tying a leg onto positive. We're pulling power off of C6 here and here, positive and negative. I don't know why the hell they're doing that. Excuse my language. We're also picking up test point 7. This is that, by the way, this is that green tape right here. It's on the same bottom of the board. Now, I'm going to pivot this around. We're going to come down here and look at this bottom side. So, we are coming to T2. We are coming to the bottom side of, I believe this is resistor 57. No, this is capacitor 62, sorry. We are coming to, and I want to be gentle with these joints. I want to be gentle with them. We are coming to resistor 5, R5. Yeah, we're coming to the side of R5. We are coming to the backside of R55. R55, is that what that is? Yeah, yeah, R55. We are coming to a leg off the main board, and this is pin number. Wow, look at these pins. Are those lifted? Are these lifted? No. But I don't know that you guys, can you guys see that well? I'm trying to tune up my color a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So this is coming off of pin 1, 2, 3. We've got pin 3 we've picked up. And that's it. That's it. And then we've got one. I've lost it. Sorry. My battery on my thing has died. So then we've got a third wire coming all the way across to T1 here. So here's what I find interesting. First off, I find this board very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, first off. Second off, here's what else I find interesting. This is clearly the exact same style of connector Sega uses, as witnessed or as noticed by this type of connector here and this one here at the exact same time. These wires are exactly the same style, type, brand of wires as what is in every other one of the Game Gears. And this tape is the same as this tape, is the same as this tape right here that was wrapped around the back of the console like this. Now, if we get up here into this audio circuit, this doesn't really mean anything to me. This may be just be an early version. I've not seen one with these style of capacitors on them. That doesn't really mean anything at all to me. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm very tempted to plug it up, but I'm also very tempted to not plug it up. I don't know what to do. Interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Is there a chance that this is a development board? Is this a chance that this was an early version for the TV tuner? Is there a possibility that this was an actual Sega development board for that? Is there a chance? I don't know. And I'm scared to take it apart any further. Also, by the way, the battery terminals on this right here were clipped. The wires on this guy right here were clipped. The heat shrink wasn't removed, but the wires were clipped. This is gone. This is a different backplate. This backplate, I just noticed this. This backplate on every other Genesis comes all the way up and comes over these edges, but it doesn't on this one, which may mean something and it may not. I don't know. But it doesn't on this one. This does take DC 9 volts. It does take DC 9 volts. It did have this DIN connector hooked up to it. 8-pin DIN. This is nothing special about this DIN connector at all. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, let me take a break. Let me go see what I can find out. Okay, so did a little bit more digging, and here's what's interesting. So this model number right here, this 171-6098 or 898, does not exist. There's no information I can find on it on the internet. Neither can I find anything on 837-7942. Can't find anything on it. No information whatsoever. I can find these two chips here are 74HC00A and our 74HC175A. So what we've got is this is just a quad input NAND, and this is just a quad flip-flop gate. So those are all normal. What they're doing here, is they're taking the video signal from the Game Gear and they're outputting it through this to output to a TV of some sort. I do not know, again, if this works, and I am slightly hesitant to even plug it up for fear that it will blow up. What I can find is that the information I gave you earlier about the 315, 5242 chip here is that these are very unreliable, and there is a reproduction chip made and out, and you'll have to forgive me, I don't remember the guy's name. I can go and look it back up, and I will, and I'll try to put a link to the information that I found about this chip in the description down below, so you guys go look that up as well. I'm going to be responding on there very shortly. I had to make an account. I'm going to be responding to the thread and seeing if anybody can give me any more information about this or about all of this. I took some good solid pictures of all of this along with the chip to try to get some information about it. So let me find a power cable, and we're going to plug this thing up and see what happens. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I have rounded up a couple of different power options. I'm going to stick a game in here. First thing I rounded up was a battery pack, not for any particular reason, but I just happen to have it laying around. Well, that's interesting. My power cord doesn't fit. It's supposed to fit. Let's try this one. That is a non-standard. That is non-standard. That is non-standard, not at all standard. If that physically won't fit, I wonder if this takes the Model 1. I'm going to plug this up without plugging it up. Is what we're going to do. Okay, so that definitely fits. Okay, so let me take this guy, unravel him, plug him up. So that's interesting. It does not take the standard size Game Gear power adapter from the Model 2 Genesis, but it does fit. It fits, but I don't have any markings on this to tell me whether this is center pin positive or center pin negative. So, okay, I got something on the screen. I had something on the screen. It popped up for a second. The light was on, and now I got nothing. Oh, there we go. Okay, we got a light. I don't have anything on screen. Come on. I get a flicker every once in a while. I think we've got a bad capacitor somewhere. Or a bad switch. We're outputting the 9 volts that we require for this thing to work. Our power connector there is definitely corroded. Let me open this guy back up. I want to do as little as possible. I don't even want to, until I know more, I don't even want to do a recap on it because I don't know enough about it yet to want to risk changing a board like this around. What I do want to find out is if this is center pin positive or negative, and I'll be able to tell pretty quick. This also doesn't have the factory sticky thing right here that it should have. It should have that, but this does not, and it's not like it's been peeled up and there's still residue back there. It's never there. So sorry, I'm just taking a second to look at this board. Let me get my meter out real quick. Let's find a known negative. It should be here. Okay, so this is center pin positive is what this is. 100% center pin positive. Let me make sure I'm checking that correctly. So we come to our negative leg of our battery, and we come to this side. So we're definitely, no, sorry, correction. Is it my earth? Is it my ground? Positive. So, sorry, this is center pin negative. This plug is center pin negative, so we come back over here and make sure 9.3 volts, so the outer of the barrel is positive. Okay, so I'm correct on that. So, now that I know that, I can drop this guy back in. Again, I'm not going to change anything on this board yet. I don't want to disrupt this. I don't want to alter this from the original factory components until I've got confirmation that it works. So here's what I can tell you. I know that the unit flipped on, the screen flickered a few times. I know that the backlight works, without question. I know that I don't know that the audio works or not. But we did have a light from the LED, and we did have some flicker on the screen, which are all good things. And the way our power was acting is if it would start up for a moment, and then sometimes it wouldn't. That tells me we've got bad capacitors, is what it tells me. definitely different. Every once in a while I get the faintest flicker. Okay, geez, what do I do? I really need to think about this. I don't know. I'm befuddled. I mean, I've got all the capacitors. I can replace them. It's not a big deal. It's really quick and easy. But what I don't want to do is risk disrupting this. I wonder what would happen if I plugged this up and then turned it on. Do you think maybe it's looking for this? I doubt it. How could it be? It can't be looking for this. It can't even know. Now, I don't think it can. Not U cord. Definitely not U cord. U cord. Yeah. Interesting. So we've definitely got I want to say definitely, we definitely, I feel like, got a capacitor problem here. Definitely have a capacitor problem. The question is, historical relevance and whatnot. What do I do? I'm not getting any sound out, but what I think is, this is what I think. I think that, and I'll tell you real quick, because I'll take this board out and test it. I think that I'm not getting, I think we've got a bad capacitor on our power board here. I'm quite confident we've got some bad capacitors, but I don't see any that have leaked. Maybe a faint bit here on this 104. That's interesting. These are usually swapped. Whatever, not worried about that. Got a faint bit of leaking there, really on several of these. Yeah, this one's definitely leaked. This one's leaked. That one's leaked. I'm sorry, now I'm going around through here. Yeah, we're going to have to change a bunch of these out. I say change a bunch of them. We're going to change these capacitors out. So, what has me curious at this particular point is this power board why does it have a different jack on it? Why? Because it shouldn't. Not you. Where did it go? Not you. You. There's some voltages on my meters. Let's sit him down here and let's read some output voltages. So what I should have, first off, is I should have 9 volts here, No voltages. No voltages? Nine volts. Okay, that's correct. 9 volts, that's correct. It's a little low, but that'll work. Yep, that's off. That's off. That's off. That's correct. That's, huh? Okay. So our flip-flop here was correct. So I don't think there's anything wrong. We might have a back capacitor here, but I don't think there's anything wrong with the power board. I need to think on this and sleep for a little bit. So I'm going to unplug this and just let them sit, and we'll talk about this in the morning. Okay, guys, so I took some time and I thought about this last night quite a bit. And what I decided, and I thought about it this morning quite a bit too, and what I decided I was going to do is I'm going to go ahead and continue to disassemble this guy a little bit more, and see if it's got anything else in store or hiding in it. And we're just going to kind of go from there. I'm probably going to replace some capacitors, because I think that we have to. I think we absolutely have to, because I think if we don't, we're going to end up in a situation where this thing ends up ruined, and I certainly don't want to do that. So we're probably going to have to replace all these capacitors, which is fine. I did think about it last night, and I thought, it'd be really cool to do a full-blown McWill upgrade on it and all that stuff. But then the more I kind of thought about that, this particular game gear's got a little bit of a, if it's what I think it is, then it's got a little historical significance that I don't want to I don't want to mod and I don't want to destroy. So having said all of that, we're going to start disassembling this guy. And we're going to want to be, I've sent out a couple of feelers to some people to kind of see if they had any more information than what I've got about this guy, or could get any more information about it, including the guy that I got it from, because I just kind of want to find out everything I can about it. Almost like it doesn't want to let go. I definitely want to be very delicate with it. Just in case it is kind of what I think it is. Interesting. So I've taken apart a lot of game gears, and I've never seen on any of them leftover flux like this. I've never seen this before. Never. I've also taken apart a lot of them, and I've never seen one as immaculate as this was. I mean, there's no dust, but there is a lot of very thick, chunky flux everywhere. And if I didn't know better, it's not hand soldered. Not at all. But then again, certain parts of it that make me feel like perhaps it's hand soldered. So this particular board here is epoxied underneath it. I've never seen that before on any of them. There's a little dribble of it right there too. You know, come to think of it, I think maybe this is hand soldered. Let me grab my charging cable from a microscope so I can show you guys what I'm talking about. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is this little IC right here. Okay, it's labeled, all I can make out is it's labeled as IC6 on the board. Okay, and you see the flux that's all over it right here. We can come up here to this portion, and again, you can see the flux that's all over this. This is uncommon. And when I say uncommon, I've never actually seen that. And then again, up here on the output connector or the link connector, you see all the flux that's up here. And these are possibly hand soldered joints, because machine soldered joints don't generally look like that, but not a big deal. We can come over here to this side of the board, and again, you can see this flux all right in here. Now, I doubt that this is a hand soldered, but again, you can see this little bit of red poking underneath it. This is the epoxy I was talking about. You see it underneath this one too. We can come up here, all this looks normal, and then we get over to this side, and again, we've got flux all over in this area here, and all of that, this is our wheel, our volume, no, this is our brightness wheel. Now, the interesting thing about the brightness wheel on this one is it's offset a little bit. Normally, this board here, that is the display brightness, is all the way over these pins, all the way over. But on this one, it's not. It's kind of offset a little bit. And again, we've got the little bit of hand solder, and then again, right here on this pad. So here's what makes me think. Oh, and let me show you this part too. While I'm here and I'm trying to find a way to do it. This is the actual connector, the display connector for the LCD. And you see all the solder that's on it, which again is incredibly uncommon for a Game Gear. They usually do not ever look like this. And let me pivot this around, because I really wanted to look at this side. See, they don't ever look like this. They never look like this. And all this flux built up around it, it's not going to hurt anything. But normally your game gears, the solder pads on them look very similar to this. They never have bumps or bubbles on them. They might have a little bit on these areas, but generally that's almost perfectly flat and smooth. Now, all that, maybe, you know, the wave soldering wasn't very good or whatever. Then we get over here to this particular chip. This guy right here. Okay? And if you look and follow the pads, okay, this chip is soldered in at an angle. And it's really hard to tell it, okay, under the microscope, because I can't get the whole chip on there. But it's soldered at an angle, and I'll tell you something else. I'm trying to get a feel for this because that's a trace jumper in between these two. This is more of that red epoxy I was talking about. It's underneath this bolt or this chip. That capacitor being on crooked is fairly normal, but chips are usually always straight because of the way they're wave soldered. You can really see how off it is on this side as you follow it down, and you see how far down this pin is right here, the end of this, and we come all the way back up here to the top. And you can see here's the end of the pin. I mean, it is way off. Way off. You can even tell it better if you look at the corner of the indicator, the marking indicator right here where the chip goes. See how low that is? And then we come all the way up here, and it's actually sticking out at the bottom. More of that red epoxy is dripped here. Okay. So I find this very interesting. Also, the solder that's on it, on top of it, there would not be solder on top of this chip. There would not be solder on top of this chip because it's wave soldered, right? And so the way they do this is they insert the components and it passes through a heating element that heats up one side of it. It's called wave soldering. It's pretty cool to see, but it sucks everything pretty close to straight. Pretty close to straight. So that's all very interesting. The other side of the board, though, we've got a little bit of that flux showing right here, a little bit of it on the and that's cut. Okay, that right there is cut. Somebody's been in there and cut it. Okay. Just trying to take a closer look and document all of this. This is good. We got a little bit of flux in here, and this was all hand soldered. I really wanted to kind of look. Yeah. See these capacitors right here? Leaked a little bit, bent it a little bit. That right there, that shiny, is electrolytic fluid. That's what that is. So we're going to have to remove these and clean them. We don't have a choice. Because if we don't, then we're going to end up damaging our board. And we can't leave it like that, because whether this is some rare prototype board, which I'm starting to think it is, or this was just somebody modded it, I don't know. Either way with that, okay? The thing is, this thing deserves a little bit better than what it's getting. So if we're going to recap it, put new capacitors on it, I'm trying to think about the way I want to go about this. Yeah, this one over here, I'm going to get the microscope back out. I just looked and noticed this one over here has been leaking for a little bit. Yeah, you can see that goopy, that is electrolytic fluid, is what all of that is. So we've got to clean this up, and we have to get this off the board. Those capacitors are leaking more and more and more by the second, and probably what did not help was me firing electricity through it last night. That probably did not help whatsoever, but I want to be careful how I clean this up. Just use the faintest bit of IPA. I know this sounds a little bit funny, but I'm actually going to use a little bit of Flux. So Flux is acidic, and Flux will help because we've definitely got some fresh leakage there. And I don't want to put vinegar on it, even though I know vinegar will neutralize it. I absolutely don't want to put vinegar on it. And then we're going to put just a little bit of flux remover down to kind of cut the flux. And then we're going to come back in with our IPA. Come back in with our IPA, clean them up a little bit, and I'm going to start working on this side of the board. As much as I really am hesitant to do that, these capacitors are going to continue to leak, and as they do, they're going to continue to damage our board, and we can't have that. We can't be damaging the board. Irregardless of everything else, this board really is in too good of shape to risk damaging it, so we don't want to do that at all. So all of these look standard to me, but just in case they're not, before I pull any of them, I'm going to take a couple pictures. Okay. Do I do my standard, grab a hold of it and wiggle and twist until it pops off? Or do I heat these up? Or do I heat these up and remove them? That dried off, didn't it? So these oh yeah, that one just snapped. The legs and all were gone on it. And there's definitely some corrosion underneath there. I say definitely, there's a lot of corrosion underneath there. It's okay. It's okay, little Game Gear. We're gonna rescue you. Okay, let's get all of those loose. All but this one up here in the top corner, and that one's a different story. What I'm going to do is grab some tweezers here and a hot air station, and I'm going to go to about 420 at about 420C at about 40%, 45% airflow, give or take. And I'm not going to let my iron sit on here, or my gun sit on here for long. Hot tweezers. Very, very, very hot tweezers. These capacitors are almost just falling off of here. Which is interesting. They're more falling off than they are coming. The legs are more breaking off than they are coming desoldered. Nope. Nope. Don't want to use a hot air gun there. Don't want to use the hot air gun there. I started melting this plastic right here, and I definitely don't want to do that. It was getting a little hot and deformed, and I don't want to risk okay. That's got all but the tough boy up top. The reason, by the way, I left all this on the board here, left this bubble wrap down, is I didn't want to risk anything damaging this particular game gear. Okay, let's do a little bit of cleanup here. We're going to end up getting out our fiberglass pen. And I'm not scrubbing. I'm just gently, very gently, cleaning off the pads. And I'm going to do this several times. I'm going to do it kind of in stages. Now I want to try to keep this board sort of propped up at an angle so all the isopropyl or whatever is going to run off of it runs this way. Is kind of my goal here. And again, I'm not trying to rub through anything. I'm just using the scratch pen here to push, free up anything stuck anywhere on the pads and whatnot, so I can kind of push all of that down the board and make sure there's no corrosion left. Okay, we're going to go in here and tune up all of these, all of the points on this guy, all of the pads on it, and I'm going to do that under a microscope so that you guys can see kind of see exactly what I'm doing. Like I said, this is kind of a multi-step process, and you know, you don't have to be really as thorough necessarily as what I'm going to be this time. The only reason that I am going to this level this particular time is because I feel a certain way about this particular board already. Let me take this little foam piece off before it gets damaged. We're going to take him off, move some tools out of our way here. Let me turn this on and dim some lights. So that we can hopefully get a little work done. See what we're doing a little bit. Okay. Now, we're going to start right here on C39 and C38. This is our 100 and our 60. So you can see a little bit of the corrosion already in this spot. So we're just going to clean our soldering iron real well. And we're just going to come in here very gently like. I've got my soldering iron at about 400 degrees C. Yowzers. These pads here do not want to tin, they don't want to flow. They are covered. Electrolytic fluid. Very interesting. Let me tilt this up just a bit. So if you see when I put my iron up here and you see that bubbling is the electrolytic fluid caked on this pad. And if we don't get that off, it's going to destroy this pad. So I'm just going to take my tweezers. I'm just going to gently scratch at this pad, gently. You see that brown in it. You can see those little flakes flushing away. Yeah, I've worked on quite a few boards, and I've cleaned a whole lot of messed up traces. But I've never seen one quite like this. Never seen one quite like this. Look at all that. Now what I'm doing with my knife here, guys, is I'm just very gently scratching the surface. I'm not digging, I'm not putting pressure, I'm just letting the knife glide over the surface very gently. I think we're getting somewhere. I think we're getting our pad back. I think we've about got our pad back now. You see all this in this edge? That still gives me quite a bit of concern. Now what I want to do is I want to put a little bit of flux down, kind of clean the area. I want to come in with some fresh leaded solder. See, it's not 100% yet. You see how the solder's not taken to some of the edges? That tells me right off the bat that this is not 100% yet. Almost got us a great looking pad. So what I'm doing now is I know I got most of it clean, right? I know I've got most of that garbage off of it. What I'm doing now is I'm just using my leaded solder and some flux and the tip of my soldering iron to work this pad. There we go. And I'm going to come in here with just a little bit of no clean, or sorry, super wick. I know lots of guys use the Goot wick, and it's very good. I just happen to prefer this. This is what I like. By all means, use whatever you like and are comfortable with. But I'm a big MG Chemicals fan. I kind of like their stuff, so I kind of stick with it. I know what it's going to do, and I've not played with Gootwick enough to kind of know right off the rip exactly how it's going to act and react. And so, you know, one of the number one things I always say about soldering and learning to solder is, you know, get comfortable with your tools. If you're not comfortable with your tools, you'll never get the result that you're looking for, right? So what I'm doing is by putting the solder down, it showed me where there was still electrolytic fluid in the solder. So that's what happens to it, by the way. What a great example. Because on the surface, I mean, this board looked really good, and it was in really good shape. You know, it wouldn't work, but it's a perfect example. We pull these off and we look down, and you know, the contact, the trace is all gunked and brown and rusty looking, and we scrape it away and nothing will attach to it, and it won't hold anything. What a perfect example. As we scrape away and we see the electrolytic fluid has etched down inside the trace, it really shows you exactly how this breakdown occurs over time. It eats its way like rust. Look at that pad. Look at that pad right there. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Okay, moving on to this one. Now you can see, let me zoom down here. Let's get real close. So you can see all of this gunk that's built up on this. This is dried electrolytic fluid that is, I say it's dried, it's partially dried, and it is currently eating its way into the softest thing it can first. And the softest thing it can eat into right now is this solder. Since your solder pads are exposed, and it's easier for this electrolytic fluid to eat its way through the solder that's already exposed, that's what it does first. So just watch this. I've scratched at it. Just watch this right here. Look at that. You see that? That is that electrolytic fluid that I scratched off, and it was all over the board right there. And if you look, you can still see it's still on our board. It's gotten up here onto this part of the pad, or this part of the solder mask. And if we don't get this off, it's going to absolutely destroy this board. You see that shiny, fleckly? That's it. That's that electrolytic fluid that I'm so worried about. Because what it does, look, it's already eaten away. You see this shiny bit that's coming up on the trace? It's already eaten away at our trace. It's eating away at it over here too. That is how traces get broken and destroyed. These old capacitors break, they rupture, they vent, they leak, and before you know it, your console just does not work anymore. You know, and you send it to somebody like me, you know, it was working 2 weeks ago and now it's not working. Can you fix this for me, please? Sure. Sure. Be glad to. You know, this is also why you don't replace these capacitors with cheap, garbage, no good capacitors. This is the exact reason why you spend the money and you put good capacitors on it. See how hardened that appears to be? I mean, I'm hitting this with 400-degree Celsius soldering iron, and it's not budging. But now now that it's dried up, you can look at it and you can see all the brown. It's almost like a rust inside of there. It's not rust. That is the electrolytic compound has gotten down inside of this board, okay, and has etched away, and etched itself down into this trace that runs right through here, okay? Again, we cannot leave that here. You always want to be as minimally invasive and minimally disruptive as possible to this. Anytime you're doing something like this, the idea is to just be as minimally invasive, do as minimal amount as is absolutely going to be 100% required. Because the more that you pick and poke and prod and at a trace, the more damage that you are going to do to it. Now to turn the brightness down, I don't know if you guys can see that any better on that there, but right all in this area, here, all the way around this side, is full of that corrosion. Just full of it. Now, if the corrosion is not too bad, and it's not on these two pads, a lot of times the easiest and best way to get rid of that corrosion is to do what I'm doing here. Apply some flux and some fresh solder, walk it around a little bit with your iron, okay? And it will drive all of that corrosion out. Then you can come back in with some solder braid, pull those pads, or pull that solder back up, and it will suck up in the leaded solder. And then you can just simply clean your pad with a toothbrush and some rubbing alcohol and go on about your business, and you're done. A lot of times you can get away with that, not always. A lot of times you can. I think we can get away with it this time here. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All that corrosion's gone. Our board looks good. We're in great shape. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how we do that. So I'll tell you what. I'm going to take a short break, and then I'm going to finish up doing the rest of these. And I'll be back here in just a minute. Okay, guys. So this is where part one's going to end. So I know I said on the video that I was going to take a short break and all that, but this is going to be an intermission, and I will update part two and put the intros in it and all that good stuff, and we'll roll with it. I'm going to try to get that video out by Wednesday is my goal, but it may be Saturday at the absolute latest, but you guys stay tuned. Video's coming very soon. Thanks for watching.